Hey, welcome back to JKWD podcast, where one of us knows where our slinky is. It's not a euphemism; it's actually a toy. Also, not a euphemism. Kelvin, how you doing?
You're just digging it deeper and deeper here,
I
aren't you?
am. I know.
Yeah. Hey, dude, I'm fine. It's awesome. Something really, really weird happened here. The other day, I did a podcast and talked about how this was not a typical winter in New York, and we hadn't had any typical winter weather and stuff. And I'd only used my snowblower 3 times, and apparently, the universe took that as a command. And now, this morning, last night, snow, freezing rain, ice storm, snow. Holy smoke. Starting to look like a polar ice cap out here.
Yeah, it's funny because I heard that podcast. It came out this morning, but it's not this morning when you're hearing this. It was back on Friday the 7th.
Yeah.
And I heard, welcome to sunny Liverpool, New York, where it seems to be warm and not snowing. And I'm like, oh, I bet it is now. And then we got on to talk. And
I'm gonna have to do another podcast to say, hey, apparently that was a prayer and it worked.
Well, now
that wasn't the intent.
Yeah. Well, now you can do another podcast about the law of attraction and how sometimes the universe listens.
Because they say when you talk about anything with energy, I mean, energy is the attractor, good, bad, or indifferent.
Yeah. So if you are upset about this snowstorm right now in central New York, you can blame Kelvin. But if you're suffering the effects of the cold weather and you don't want to get in your car and go to the grocery store, you can go online to kettleandfire.com right now, kettleandfire.com. Fill up your box with all kinds of delicious soups and bone broths that can be either a soup base, or you can just pour it into your mug and heat it up in the microwave and sip it. And you don't have to leave your house. It'll just show up on your porch or at your front door, or however you get packages. You can keep the cold outside and keep you inside. You open the door and reach out and pull it in.
Quick.
And you can get 10% off if you use the code BetterHumanhood at checkout. So that's kettleandfire.com. Fill up your box. Use code BetterHumanhood at checkout. And give you 10% off.
Yeah. Make that use term BetterHumanhood when you check out.
That's right.
Because if they write BetterHumanhood at checkout, that's not going to work.
Right. So when you check out, use the code BetterHumanhood. And that'll get you 10% off.
Sorry, I had to do that. You're having fun at your house this morning. I can hear it.
You can hear some laughter.
We got some active baby over there, man. She's been jumping and talking and
I'm gonna throw some blueberries into the playpen, see if she notices.
Oh. Don't.
I gotta change the sheet in there anyway. So
don't tempt the gods. Don't tempt the gods.
Well, so no, I want her to eat them. So.
Oh, is it gonna work?
I don't know. She's looking at them now, so we'll see.
Well, good.
No, she's just back to staring at me.
Okay, good.
Anyway,
how's things in your world?
Things are good over here. We've been suffering from windstorms and a little bit of rain, but I can get over that. Don't have to shovel rain or wind, so all good here.
Well, we have wind too. There's snow in it.
Snow around.
So
we are at the time of this recording, we are expecting an out-of-town guest who is a mutual friend of ours. So we'll look forward to seeing her. She'll be gone by the time this episode airs, but episode is released.
Well, how's that go? Now you see her, now you don't.
Yeah. So time traveling by podcast.
There you go.
And by the time we the time we're back, we will have said hi for you.
Thank you. And I will have been very, very grateful for that.
Podcast, where we talk about better humanhood and teach you how to dominate your world. You ready? Here we go.
So what do we talk about today?
You know, I was thinking.
Uh-oh.
That's always a bad thing. Well, not always. About the ways that we program ourselves for failure.
Uh-oh.
And perhaps we might have a conversation that discusses some of those things because, maybe people aren't recognizing how they're programming themselves to fail. And conversely, when you realize how you're programming yourself to fail, you can perhaps discover how you can help program yourself to succeed.
All right. So where do we start? How do we recognize how we're programming ourselves to fail? And what does that look and or sound like?
Well, for me, it looks a lot like I said I was going to do something. I said I was going to have a result. I said probably when I was going to have that result, but some reason, I haven't gotten there. And when I look back over my life, well, let's not go for the whole life. Let's just go back for a couple of days. I realize that sometimes I can find such creative ways to derail me from my stated intention. It is amazing how long I can sit next to the computer, straightening up the spot to the left of the computer to make it nice and neat and pretty for no reason at all. I can spend hours, it seems, doing that. And then all of a sudden, I have to go to bed because I forgot to write that letter, speak that podcast.
That sounds like something our friend Stephen Presfield writes about.
Oh, pray tell.
I believe that would be capital R, resistance.
Resistance.
You've got that. You've got. I saw you had a copy of the War of Art open.
I do.
Yeah.
The War of Art. I'm showing it on the screenshot, although nobody can see it. However,
Right.
You probably have a cover copy on the.
Well, I have it right here on my Kindle app, actually.
There you go. Marlena,
There's a secret that real writers know that wannabe writers don't. And the secret is this. It's not the writing part that's hard. What's hard is sitting down to write. It's not the writing part that's hard. What's hard is sitting down to write.
Yeah.
Or speak, or whatever you're
I've had that problem. On both, and strangely enough, it used to be so. When she's really happy right now. It used to be so that when I sat down to write, it just started flowing. I mean, I had trouble keeping up with the stuff that was showing up in my head, and I'm like typing. I sat down I remember specifically I had a project one day, and I sat down to write just a tiny email, just an email. And what it was for was for the Photographer Society I was a member of, and it was basically just an intro email to people who signed up for our mailing list and stuff like that to find out information. And I sat down to write an email. It was only going to be a few minutes. That was like 10 o'clock in the morning. And 4 o'clock that afternoon, I got up from that. I'd forgotten to eat lunch. but I had ended up with what ended up being like a 6-part series of emails that just walked people through the process of, sticking around till we got to talk to them. And I did that effortlessly. And I haven't done that in a long time. So I don't know. Back then, maybe I was inspired or something. These days, I can spend a lot of time sitting in front of the computer wondering, what did I forget? Oh, let me go check this. And oh yeah, okay, I'm sitting down now. Now, oh man, this pen is out of place on the right side of my desk. Let me fix that. That kind of crazy stuff. So the thing is, after I've done all of that, I mean, have you had any such events or in
Sure. Well, I mean, so you described for a second there the flow experience, right? Where you sit down to write something, and 6 hours later you get up and you have no idea how you've written.
Oh yeah. Oh,
You
and
accidentally wrote 6 emails, or you accidentally wrote for 6 hours.
I used to do that. I mean, all the time. That was the state when I sat down. Bam! I was just writing. I'd start to write something, and then what I started to write, like a whole different thought would come in, and suddenly, an hour later, I've got a whole different document.
Yeah. So that's what Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi described as flow, and it's what people like Stephen Kotler and Jamie Wheal are they're flow hackers. They're they're coming up with ways to reliably get in flow.
Mm-hmm. I'd like to get that book. I'd like to get that flow back.
So there are a few of them out there. Yeah, okay. There are a few of them out there. But the other piece of it is the opposing piece, and that's really what we're talking about is the resistance, and specifically
Dam is blocked,
and specifically how we set ourselves up for failure. And how. I guess when I asked you a couple of minutes ago how we set ourselves up for failure, what you described was a classic resistance situation where you sat down to do the thing, but you didn't do the thing,
right?
Or you meant to do the thing and you didn't do the thing, but instead,
did something else.
What does it sound like inside of you when you're failing to do the thing that you set out to do? I get how you sat down and you found something else to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when we talk about setting ourselves up for failure, and that's how you introduce the topic, that sounds like a more of an ongoing thing than a circumstantial thing. Do we set ourselves up for failure by having a messy desk that constantly needs cleaning? What is it that we do, or what is it that we believe?
Yeah,
that sets us up for failure.
Well, for sure, a lot of it, almost all of it, is probably subconscious, or yeah, because I don't make a goal and then go, I'm not going to do that, but something comes up, and I think self-talk. We've talked about self-talk before. Self-talk is brutal sometimes, and studying I've done lately, again, talks to the fact, number one, almost all the conversation in most people's heads is negative. I mean, we're not good enough. We're not smart enough. Why did I ever think about that? Why did I do that idea? When I signed up to do vitamin K 10 years ago, and it's like, one of the things I thought at the time was, how am I ever going to be writing this sucker every day for 10 years? That's just monumental. But it worked for a long time. But right now, when I would sit down, sometimes like maybe I'm not smart enough to do that, which is weird because I think I'm one of the smartest people on the planet. Egos aside. But I do find a lot of self-talk, or you define that differently, but a lot of dialogue in my head that says, I mean, who are you to be writing this stuff anyway? I mean, it's not like you're Joe Rogan or something where you've got all this success behind you. You just Kelvin. Um, and you're not rich yet, so maybe you don't know what you're talking about. But those things, I guess that's the imposter syndrome, right? We've had conversations about that sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
But the fact of the matter is, when I come outside of that, there's an incredible number of people who read my stuff and they send me thank you letters because I helped them, thank you. I needed to hear that today, or something like that. So there's a lot of good in what I do, globally, actually. But for some reason, sometimes I sound like I'm trying to talk myself out of it.
How do you overcome, or is that kind of a stuck point for you right now?
It's kind of a stuck point. I'm in a good place right now. Sometimes I've listened to a lot of people recently people who are famous and stuff, who say they still go through that, even though they're now world renowned, and they still feel like an imposter when they hit the stage or before they get on the stage and that kind of thing. Mostly it's, sometimes, I look at my past and go, well, I've been doing this for this long, so obviously it's working, and I just push through it. And then typically after I do something like that, I get a lot of feedback that says, oh, God, I really wanted that. Thank you very much. I needed that. So a lot of it is delving into just telling myself, number one, sometimes the past serves a purpose. Sometimes the past serves the purpose of saying, but you've already done this, so like it's not a big deal. So just go back and do what you did before. It worked last time. It's going to work this time. Going to be all right. And sometimes it's good to have recollection of when you did do something right, and when you did get accolades for it, and when you did change somebody's life, even once or twice, because that kind of validates where you are. But a lot of times these days, when I want to get past it, I just tell that voice in my head to just shut up. Strangely enough, I found that to be very effective. If I can say, just shut up, just stop it, and just go on and start to do what I was going to do. Sometimes just once you push past that little point, it's kind of like, the chocks on an airplane wheel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just get that out of the way and get rolling. Sometimes the momentum takes you into where you need to go. So,
you did a podcast about that. It was one of your early podcasts.
That was my first podcast. I think it might have been either my first or second podcast. Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty early on.
Yeah. So, and I do that. So I'm doing that again. I teach that. So every time I actually teach it, like a couple of weeks ago, I was having an appointment with someone who was telling me about the voices in their heads, and I just tell them how to fix it. Well, that was conscious effort. So when I came home that afternoon and that voice started talking to me again, I was like, I know the answer to this. Just shut up. Just do it. And
that's right.
So, and that's kind of a brute force method. But you start, first of all, you're never going to finish it if you don't start it.
It's true.
Never going to finish if you don't start it.
That is true.
I have also found, and this is, it's topical and it's non-topical sometimes. We had another podcast at one time where we're talking about, we start thinking about success and we're thinking about that in a certain way. And then we start thinking about, well, if I become successful, What are my friends going to think? What's my family going to think? Or, my family's not rich. My family's not really successful. What makes me think I can do it? Typically, a lot of times our friendships are a group of people who are at a certain mindset.
Mm-hmm.
So if we do something that takes us outside of that parameter, we suddenly become an outsider to that group because, who do you think you are?
How's that saying go? If you can't change the people around you, change the people around you.
Yeah, but that's really, really hard for some people.
Yeah, well, it really is.
You get what you're comfortable with. So, and if that makes you feel good, you stay there.
Yep. The other way to go about this is something that I've been working with for the last year or so,
mm-hmm.
and that's discipline over inspiration or discipline over motivation. I've set myself the expectation that I'm going to have a blog post every Wednesday morning
mm-hmm.
and a podcast every Thursday morning, and we're going to have a JKWD podcast every Monday morning.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if we're inspired to have a discussion about something. It doesn't matter if we're motivated to get something accomplished. The thing's got to be there, so we're going to do it. And sometimes that means just coming up with a system, setting a system to get you, to get you going. And like we've done it with JKWD, right? We know that JKWD comes out on Monday.
Yep.
We talk every Friday morning at 10:30.
Mm-hmm.
If we have to reschedule, we'll reschedule. If we know that for some reason we're going to miss one, we always make sure we have an episode lined up. But most days when if we have a guest, we know what we're talking about.
Right.
But most days when we come on, we don't know what we're going to talk about that day. And it's not the inspiration to talk about something that gets us creating the episode. It's the fact that we show up to record an episode. It's discipline over inspiration.
And in this case, we do have the accountability of the other.
Right. So the accountability definitely does help.
Admittedly, two of us working at it. If one of us isn't inspired, the other one is. So luckily, I don't think either one of us have been. I don't think we've both been uninspired at the same time.
well, I think that's not true. I think that there have been a few times when we've said, I don't know what we're going to talk about, what we're going to talk about. And what we wind up doing is just having a conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Because our conversations are generally interesting anyway. That's why we started this thing.
True. It's harder to have a conversation by yourself. People look at you funny.
Yeah, although we both have a solo podcast, and that's really a conversation with ourselves.
Making sure it reads something. Yeah. Yeah. So we do that. So the discipline is, and with you and I, the discipline has been good because it's been mutual because we each have.
Right. So that accountability, that accountability helps a lot.
So we both had times when we didn't do the other thing, or we canceled it, or we changed it, or whatever. I lied a lot a couple of years ago when I said, "Hey, I'm going to finish it up all this year," and didn't. I don't intend to do that again this year. This year is a I'm going to do what I said I'm going to do a year, and I'm off to a grand start. I mean, I even stopped doing them like the day before and playing them out. I'm so excited, and it's cool stuff. So, but the self-talk is we can't ignore the self-talk.
Define self-talk for people who might not understand what you're talking about.
The stuff that I'm hearing is when I sit down to do something, or I go, for instance. No, I'm not going to talk about that.
It's the internal monologue, right? It's
the internal monologue, inside the head. And mine is there's voices always running. I mean, there's stuff running in your head. If you ever stop to just think about what conversation is happening inside your head, you'll notice Little voices are telling you, you can't do that. What is it? You're crazy? What do you think? You're smart or something? You know, and I mean, somebody told me recently, I think that even Einstein had issues with that. But if you listen to the stuff that's being said in your head and you don't
Well,
check it, you know,
yeah, I think we all have. I think everybody has it at some point, either that or you have delusions of grandeur. Right? And
what delusions of
you,
grandeur are okay if you can
you
do it.
mentioned
It ain't bragging
well,
if you can do it, right?
well, it's not a delusion if you can do it. Right? I mean, you mentioned Joe Rogan earlier. He says on his podcast that um, when he smokes marijuana, he gets paranoid, and when he gets paranoid, the voice he hears is, "You're not doing enough. Get out there and do more."
Wow.
So
I haven't heard that
that's why he is who he is,
Mhm.
because he's scared of that voice.
Mhm.
He's doing it because that voice is telling him, "You're not doing enough. Get out there."
Yeah, but if you got that voice, it's not holding you back. It's pushing you forward. The one most people have most often is the other one.
Well, but you still need the action, right? Because I often hear, "You're not doing enough. Get out." You're not doing enough. Get out and do more.
Mhm.
And I always respond back with, "Yeah, I'm tired. I don't have time. I'm busy."
Uh-huh.
That's another form of resistance. And
Well, to be perfectly fair, you do a lot. I mean, you gotta play.
yeah,
So,
but
um,
still,
yeah. So anyway, I think the first thing is recognition, because we can be having these conversations in our head and not actually realize we're having these conversations in our head. It'd just be a weird feeling, and we're going. So we have to sit sometimes and listen and go, what's really going on inside my head? What are the voices saying? I started meditating. Hey, you want to hear what's going on inside your head? Start that crap. And the voices get loud because they don't want you to know what they're saying anyway. The
they just
they
want you to
really
hear
want
the
to hide from
noise.
you. They really want to hide from you. And we've learned in MKMMA and several other things, right? You
Mm-hmm.
just have to take command of these voices. But the coolest thing I got from MKMMA, which is a master key mastermind alliance, which we've both done at separate times, is
Mm-hmm.
they made our subconscious mind a person. They gave it a name. So, it's a known fact that our subconscious mind mimics, everything we do. We talk, we breathe, the heart beats, all that's handled by the subconscious mind. So it's automatic and we don't forget. Just imagine if you just decide one day, I don't feel like breathing. I think I'll just quit. I don't want to breathe. It's not going to work. So they gave it subby. So when the negative side of subby starts talking, I can say, subby, shut up. Just stop it. We can kill the voices. And strangely enough, many, many times, recognition is the big thing. If you don't recognize it's happening, you can't do anything about it. Once you recognize it, you can address it. And sometimes as simply as shut up, just tell the voice to stop. Now, I do use affirmations. We do all the rest of that stuff. Because once you tell that voice to stop, you got to replace it with something. And sometimes when we want to get past it, instead of letting it tell us why we can't, we need to come up with the reasons why we can. And that is a big thing, because most of us are really, really, really a lot better than we give ourselves credit for. Society, however, does like to tell us that, you ain't so smart, so don't do that. Don't get over cocky. But again, we've already said it. If you can do it, it's not cocky. It's just
Right.
what you can
Well,
do.
and that's what a lot of advertising says to you, right? And
Oh yeah.
you're not good enough. You need this. You need this product.
Oh, you've got an extra hair on your eyebrow. You really need this treatment, and And I think,
or even hey, you're stuck. You're stuck mentally. You need this course.
all of that.
It's all.
And I mean, to a degree, part of it's true, and because we need more input. If we've got a limited expanse of what we're doing, what we're looking at, we need input. We need more to give us more to work with.
Right. Well, and sometimes,
but they tend to say, because of this, you're not worthy. That's what a lot of the commercials are. It's like, not only are you ugly, but you're not worthy of being pretty. So you really need this to override it. That kind of thing. And
sometimes, sometimes those things are accurate, right? Sometimes you need a better paper towel than the one you've got.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes sometimes your beard's a little too bushy, Josh, and you need to
trim it.
You need to get a little something to fix up your face.
Keep working on it. Did I say that? No, I didn't say that. Just kidding.
You said it with your eyes, Kelvin. You said it with your eyes. Yeah. But self-knowledge, self-reflection, I think are so important when it comes to hearing that voice going, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're never going to be great. That you can say, shut up, here are examples where I am. Yeah, and it's so important to keep those in mind. And that, that's, you just talked about affirmations a minute ago. One of the things they had us do in MKMMA was write down a whole bunch of stuff you've accomplished. It can be small things, but if you just keep scrolling through and reading off stuff you've done, stuff you've accomplished, then you recognize that you've got a habit of accomplishment. And you got proof against that voice. That says you never get anything done. Well, I did this, did this, did this, did this, did this. So there.
And the is very important.
Yeah.
So, have you you've worked through that a time or two, yeah?
Yeah. And whether it's not usually pulling out my affirmations, that I found that less helpful in my life, but I pull out occasional things from MKMMA. I'm a habitual meditator. After our discussion with Dylan Barr a couple of weeks ago, I stopped my meditation streak because there are a lot of days when I had gone like 260 something days in a row where I had a 10-minute meditation. But a lot of those days, more recently, it had been kind of like I better meditate to keep the streak going. It was like 10:55 p.m. There was like an hour left in the day, and I hadn't meditated yet. Like, it doesn't always. So some days it was serving as a stressor to try to find 10 minutes to meditate. Right. When I'd had a very nice day otherwise. So now it's not every day, but it's still 3-4 times a week. I'm just getting a quiet sit for 10 minutes. And yesterday I went down to the state park, with the dog and the baby. It was a nice morning. We walked for about an hour and a half. Just through the woods, quiet, no podcasts in my ears, no music on, just, we saw a few people, so we said hello, but mostly it was just quiet. So getting quiet helps me. And like I said earlier, discipline over inspiration, discipline over motivation. You don't wait until you're inspired to get it done. Decide what you're going to do and set up a system to do it, and then just you have to do it whether you feel like it or not.
That still takes work.
It's
But
work.
It's work. It's work you got to do. And once you've, like any habit, once you've started it, the second time's easier than the first.
Yeah, and that's the point of it being discipline over inspiration. Like, if you have to write 250 words a day, you can write a bunch of crap, and you still wrote 250 words a day. And you get better at it as time goes on. And some days you're going to have bad days, but if your job is to write 250 words a day, you're going to write those 250 words a day. Like, I mean, you can fast, like a human being can fast. A human being doesn't need to eat every day, but most of us eat every day.
Mm-hmm.
You don't wait until you're inspired to cook a gourmet meal to eat. You're just like, oh, I have to eat, so I'm going to eat something. Same thing. If there's something you want to do, if there's something you set up to do, you can do it with discipline. Sometimes, like with eating, it's more uncomfortable to not do it than to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When you start a project, like, say, writing a book, it's a lot easier to not do it than to do it. But the idea is to set up the discipline so that it's not an option. You're going to do it, you're going to do it, you're going to do it, you're going to do it. And eventually it becomes easier to do than to not do. It might take you 6 months to get to that point, but if you can sit down every day for 6 months, write your 200 words, write your 250 words, take the weekends off. Take the weekends off, like vitamin K.
Yeah.
It comes out every day. Every day it comes out. You might not be sitting down to write it every day, but you make sure that it comes out. You make sure it's going to come out. So, I bet a lot of days it'd be easier to not do it, but you've got the discipline to do it. You've been doing it for coming up on 10 years.
Yep.
So it might be the only thing. It might be the only thing you've committed to for that long so far. But
I did that. I did do that.
But you've had you now have a history of being disciplined at it, which means that you can be disciplined at something else. Whether, I keep talking about writing because I'm planning a book. I have I printed out an outline template, and I just put it on my desk this morning.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got my pile of notes sitting right here. I got a couple more sources to get through this weekend. So I actually am set up to continue, but so writing's my project, and I've got the podcast and the blog. So those are also basically writing. The podcast is speaking, but it's still writing and a little bit of production. But doing the dishes I hate waking up in the morning to yesterday's dishes. So even if I don't feel like doing the dishes at night, I do them because it's so much better for me to not wake up to dirty dishes.
Mm-hmm.
That I'll take the 5 minutes. That's what, I'm not motivated to do it, but it's a discipline of doing them. Just whether it's that or some people want to take 10,000 steps a day. That's discipline. It's not motivation. It's, I don't feel like taking these last 2,000, but I have to. So I'm going to go out and take a walk. Or I'm going to pace in a circle around my house for the next hour so I can get those 2,000 steps. Or 15,000, depending on who you are.
19 to be. Yeah, right. Well, see, I got that step thing covered, right? See, my thing is not steps. My thing's floors. So I moved my office on the second floor of my house, and I forget stuff in the basement. So I'm always going downstairs to find something I forgot to bring up. So if nothing else, I get some steps in and a little cardio for handling the staircase several times.
That's right.
So yeah. So, but anyway, that's kind of it. That's a nutshell. It's kind of surface actually. But the thing is, first start thinking about it is to realize that we do talk ourselves out of things. We do take our best intentions sometimes, and not everybody. I mean, some people get their first intention and they just go with it, and those are awesome days to have. But for those of us who don't, here's a couple of things. Number one, you are worthy of the project you thought of. And the thing is, if you hadn't been, you wouldn't have had the thought to do it, right? That's one thing that I believe is a constant. So if you have the thought to do it, and I mean, I'm not talking about a passing whim. I'm talking about an urge. I'm talking about a desire to do something. Then you've got what it takes to do that. Because in my world, I am told that your mind will not let you actually hold to a desire that you are not capable of accomplishing. Now, I can't at the moment quote the source I got from that, but I've been studying it for a long time. So if you have no way to accomplish it, like I don't know anybody who wakes up and with a burning desire to walk to the moon, you know what I mean? But the guys who like flying, some of them got there.
Yep.
So if you have the urge, if you have the desire, if you have the burn to write a book, you have the capability to write a book.
Thomas Edison didn't fail 10,000 times. He just found 10,000 ways not to make a light bulb.
There you go. Might not be fast, but we still got light today.
That's right.
So, and the internet. I don't know. I'm sorry. That was Al Gore. Forget it. Never mind. Never mind. That was an old political joke. I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to do that. But anyway, so that's my thoughts. So you got something you want to do? Begin it. Begin it. First step. Second step. Begin it.
Step one, start. Step one, start. Step two, keep going.
There you go. That's it. Let us know how you're doing. Write us.
Hit that contact form on jkwdpodcast.com where you will find show notes for this and every other episode. Go see our friends at Kettle and Fire. Get yourself 10% off your order by entering code BetterHumanhood when you go to checkout. And we will see you next time.
Bye-bye. What she said.
Hey, thanks for listening. Show notes and more at jkwdpodcast.com. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share with your friends, and we will see you next week. Bye! A Better Humanhood production.